Assalamu alaikum to all of you, wherever you are, our viewers. We are back again, Gunjur Online. We have come together today to discuss issues as always, anytime we are free. And today we have very, very important issues that we want to discuss. And, initially we advertised that we are going to have a dissection or post-mortem of the Gambian estimated budget 2024. The nuances and all the things that are there. Is it proper? Is it beneficial for the country? But we have another important thing that also cropped up, and that has to be discussed because they are all interlinked in terms of corruption, in terms of the impact on employment, economy, and all those things. It is the famous redwood again, the smuggling. Is a never-ending struggle, is a never-ending topic, and we have to see how that fuse into our economy and how corruption is generated all around in our country. So no matter what budget we put together, if these corruptions are not, mitigated, we are not going to go anywhere. Once again, you are with your host on Gunjur Online TV, Ebrima Scattred Janneh. Today, I have a young, dynamic, investigative journalist. If there is a mug-ragging press in the Gambia, it will be him. When we see in the time of Theodore Roosevelt, we have the William Allen White, the Ida Tabels, and all those things who has investigated, the investigative journalists, and create massive, fantastic, investigative cover. But yes, the government connived with them, Roosevelt, and they changed America for good. Unfortunately, we don't have that in the Gambia. So also we have our dynamic Ben Suwareh, indefatigable, always there. We are supposed to discuss the budget, as I said, but we are going to discuss the redwood because our Gambia, our country, and potentially Senegal lost almost about 300 million in blood timber export. So we are going to discuss this also. Greetings to you, our viewers all over the world. Once again, welcome to Gunjur Online. Mustapha, I think this is the second time you've been here. Ben, I cannot even say anything because this is your platform. Mustapha, welcome and greetings to you, my brother, and respect.
I'm happy to be around. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much. Brother Ben, greetings.
Hello, Ebrima. Thank you very much for always inviting us on your platform. And I'm always happy to be here. Thank you.
It is a pleasure, definitely, to have you people dignify us with your presence here. We have to respect and appreciate, what you are doing in a very, very, very difficult situation, and in a situation where people seems to not care that much, caveat, put that in quote unquote. Mustapha, you unveil Malagan and how our government, the Gambian government and Senegalese government have made a potential loss of over 300 million from the export of confiscated timber. Yes, bro. Can you give us the detail, the synopsis of this transaction, how we lost all this amount of money and what happened? Go ahead.
So I mean, this happens to be the latest work that we've done in relation to timber export. Now, I must hasten to say that this is not it was not looking at the entire timber export within an extensive period. It was just within 3 months. So we looked at timber export from January 2019 to basically end of March, which is 8 April. So that's basically only about 1 week into April. And January 10 to April 8. So that's basically 3 months. You remember after the Senegalese took over, basically after the regime change, there was a huge presence of Senegalese security in the Gambia. And there were two security, basically two security institutions that were present. One was a Senegalese contingent under ECOMIC, and two was the Senegalese security under a special arrangement that was signed before between the Gambia government and the Senegalese government. So these the Senegalese securities were present in Fonyi area, and they were allowed to carry out special security operations, confiscating timber across the country, because Senegal considers timber to be blood timber. They considered it to be a source of funding for the rebellion. And so, after confiscating large amount of timber, they had made an arrangement with Gambian authorities that this timber would be handed over to Gambians. So when they hand over to the Gambians, the government had gone into an arrangement with the timber exporters, the people who they confiscate the timber from. So the government claimed that they were receiving a lot of complaints, there were threats of violence and all of that from these timber exporters. And so they agreed that, okay, we are going to return your timber to you, but you are going to pay a fine. These people were supposed to pay a penalty of $3,600 to the Gambia government, and $900 was supposed to be paid to some so-called export coordinators that the government hired, which was Haji Baniko Sisoko, the owner of Star TV, and Lamin Mohamed Jan. He's the owner of Janneh, but he was doing business with one Lamin Sedikan. You should be familiar with that name. Sedikan was working with Westwood before. Now, so that's the situation. And so they exported this timber. And the records have shown that, to the best of our knowledge, they exported a minimum of 2,393 containers, but they recorded 1,177. Now, and so we estimated that a minimum of at least 300 million was undeclared by understating the containers that were exported, on which the state should have collected a fine of $3,600. But not just by understating containers, they also understate the exchange rate. So, for example, they claim to have exchanged the dollar to Dalasi by a rate at 46.82, which was not existing in the market. If you were to collect a fine in dollars, which is the case here, because Chinese, they buy timber in dollars, and you can't tell a Chinese, okay, change the dollar at a rate that does not exist in the economy. That does not make sense. So you can either tell him, okay, go and change the dollar at this rate and take the rest of the money. And certainly, Gambia government officials would not give Chinese $3 on each container, over 1,000 containers. So clearly, there is an indication that it's the officials who took the amount of money on top of that was left by the exchange margin that they narrowed deliberately. I mean, at least that's what all evidence points at. So this is the situation, and this is not strange, and this is just within a tiny period that we looked at. This is between 3 months. So that's basically, in summary, the story.
Thank you so, Mustapha. This is really, really, really sad, and it's a familiar situation. It's definitely. But Mustapha, what I am surprised of is, Gambia, I think, in 2017, we prohibited the export of the redwood, and which is under the moratorium now. And we have people who broke the law, and we seized this timber, and they are using violence to threaten the whole government machinery. How
It
can
was I think it was a cover. I don't think it's true.
yeah
I think it's a cover because you have to understand these people we call government officials are actually also timber smugglers. They are the same.
yes
The people at the Ministry of Environment are as complicit in illegal timber trade as the timber smugglers, are as complicit as the folks on the street who are also sizing this timber for export. Both of them are one and the same. But it's not new to Senegal that Gambia government is complicit in illegal timber trade. In fact, we've done a story on this in April last year, questioning Gambia government goodwill's gesture of allowing Senegal to station their soldiers in Fonyi, fighting rebellion, destabilizing a whole region in the country, displacing thousands of people, and yet having our own ministry being involved in that still illegal trade. And we published this information, detailing official records showing how Gambia government was allowing this illegal timber to be exported and collecting revenue from it. So Gambia government is involved in illegal timber trade, no doubt about it. And it's officially at the highest level of government, including the office of the president. So, in fact, it's office of the president that allows export. Ministry would always write to the office of the president, the timber exporter. So they are one and the same. This is effectively the situation.
Brother Ben,
Yeah.
this is a deja vu again, and it's not new, but it shows the level of rot, corruptions, deceit, from the very, very, very top. That's the office of the president, because we have agents, that are given exclusive rights over over all these seizures of timbers and all those things, making a lot of money, like 𝐁𝐵 and all those things, who are financiers to Barrow and his NPP. Brother Ben, how do you think Gambia can get out of this mess? It doesn't matter how much budget or estimated budget or whatever we said. If we allow these corruptions to continue from the very, very nucleus of our government, what's your take on all this, Brother Ben?
I will first and foremost say thank you very much thank you very much to Mulligan and for producing again another masterpiece. Yeah. I tell you what, I depend on their publications because they come out even before the audit report, and all their publications have been collaborated by the audit report that follows after their revelations. Be it anything from the COVID to anything they have ever reported have been collaborated, from the airport taxation, for security report and everything to the T have been collaborated by the audit report. It's important to emphasize that in two points here. First is to say that we are very critical with the press on the ground, but when the press deliver, we have to congratulate them and encourage them for what they do. Two is to emphasize here and for the listeners to know that we are taking something from credible sources, credible as the National Audit Report itself would be. These are two important points that I need to note, and I say thank you very much for Mulligan for doing this professional job, and we encourage them to continue. But now, I want Gambians to listen to this carefully, what they reported. 3 months report. Between January 2019 to April, 8th of April. This is amount of loss they have, almost 300 million in court. Now, you see, when we come to the budget, corruption would be key to this.
Yeah.
If we are not fighting corruption, there's no budget we can do. that will solve our problems. But Alaji, let's think about this again. But when the seesaw happened, as you said, these people went on to make an arrangement with what the people that committed this offense to say that because of they threatened violence. Alaji, this is shameful. This is criminal. We all know that's a lie. How many importers are there? What leverage do they have to threaten government? Do they have an army?
No.
Do they have a militia force that can threaten a government?
A government?
They don't have it.
No.
But you see, this is how outrageous it is that the government will insult our intelligence to come out here to give an excuse that because they are threatened, they have to succumb to the pressure to do what? To allow these people to continue this trade. And now, not only that, they had to create a mechanism and give it to who? NPP financiers. Lamin Sedikan, who is operating under Janneh. Lamin Sedikan, who have been in fact been implicated in drug trafficking. And Ajibani Soho, we all know they are all patrons of the president. Allow you this point to the president himself. That's why if you ask for what can be done, absolutely is change of leadership. Without the change of leadership, there's nothing. Mustapha have said this. Without the political will, Gambia will continue to experience this, and it's not sustainable. How can you design, how can you take other entities to collect government revenue, which I believe should be illegal? It's not catered for. It should be illegal, especially who decide to do that. And I mean, because people who decide to do it will be in conflict of interest. And this is what happened. They give it to their sponsors. Now, if we ask ourselves, where does Barrow get the money to do this? Where NPP get the money to build offices, to buy cars, vehicles? This is where they get it from. This is undermining our democracy as well. Now, Alaji, we continue from there on. 300 million worth of timber. We talk about the money. But even the 300 million, again, we are not talking about the exchange rate. Another form of corruption. Another form of corruption is deliberate. I've read the article where the permanent secretary is giving excuses that he was not aware. Alaji, there are operational procedures here. There are financial, procedures here. You cannot go into agreement, in an exchange rate mechanism, and it's not determined by official figures. You cannot just think of, okay, I'll use this figure. No, you have to justify which figure you use. This is the official rate of the central bank. This is what we're going to do. But it's deliberate. It tells you the level of corruption. But Alaji, again, the threat to national security. Alaji, the timber is coming from the Casamance region, Senegalese region in Casamance. If the depletion of the forest is affecting us on climate change and others, we are all in the same region. Now, a government is colluding with criminals, causing environmental crimes. Not only that, and the taking proceeds of that crime and diverting those proceeds to their political party and to themselves. And this is very serious. But today we have Mulligan standing up to put a spotlight onto it. I like where are the Ebrima? Where are the politicians? Where is the opposition? That's why if you talk about the change, this is what we have to emphasize on. It's not enough to say that let Barrow go, but what is going to replace Barrow? Are the opposition complicit in this? Are they getting kickback from this? These are questions genuinely we should think of. And we should think of, this is a cartel, and cartel will always have a political buying, and when they have a political buying, they will hedge their bets. They will play with the opposition, and they will play with the ruling party. That's why we should see this as a very serious issue, and Gambians should take note and make sure we discuss it and find a solution.
Yeah, we discuss it and find solution. Ben, anytime these things happen, the politicians, the civil societies, the Gambian public, both the diaspora and all those things, only few people read this and we just forget and we just move on like nothing happens, because reports and report by Malagan happens, you will expect that, a country that cares should come out and discuss these things and even demonstrate, but nothing. Mustapha, we have
Ebrima, before you go to Mustapha, I want to point this.
Yes.
It's very, to follow up what you said. It's a shame. I know the amount of work these people have to go through, amount of time they sacrifice to go through to reproduce this. Ebrima, I can tell you this. Sorry, Colin. Ebrima, I can tell you this. As an individual sitting in the United Kingdom doing a little, I know how much approach I do have, trying to put me on pressure because of relationship I have with people committing these crimes. More so, an entity like Mulligan. But I can tell you the amount of measures they try to use to bribe, to silence you, and I know that Mulligan will be going 100-fold. To deal with those issues and threats for that matter. They are on the ground. Sulayman Swandi is safe here in the United States. They are on the ground. They're facing all this. It's a shame that civil society would be there. We have the press producing this amount of professional this thing, and they will not go out there and use it. It's a shame the opposition will be out there seeing this amount of people. There's no institution that's more credible than what Mulligans produce, because of, as I said, I have always compare what they produce to the national audit reports. They have never failed. Why are we not using these figures? Why MPs are not using this material to hold government to account? You can go on there.
Yes, Mustapha, lies and contraries and conflicting information from our institution, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Environment. What the central bank said, the exchange rate that time, there was no exchange rate of $46.82, $46.82, and which at least the list that we can have that time is 49.47, to dollars. These people are so comfortable and take us for granted, and our laziness and our lack of don't care and don't do anything, to the extent that they lie so cheaply to the extent that I think they are so common, because they are not very good at these lies, because you can easily find these things out. What is wrong with this? Because corruption is so endemic to the extent that they are not covering that much, because they can get away with it. Also, Mustafa, this is not new. Like we have Yahya Jammeh, with the Westwoods and other. But even Yahya Jammeh that time, 3,000 per 20 food container. Now it's 4,500 per 20 food container. And all the political cronies that are there, the so-called business people, are getting about $900. Yahya Jammeh may be gone, as you stated, but all the transactions that he does, they are there. We are doing it even worse than Yahya Jammeh now, defrauding blatantly to the. What is wrong with the Gambian population, the educated? Because maybe my grandfather in Gunjur probably don't understand any of this, because no media.
No, they would understand. I think the problem that we have in the Gambia is indifference. Gambians want heroes, and heroes don't change society. And unless we stop the desire of waiting for heroes to change the society will not change. Every society that changes by people rising up in their numbers and saying enough. And that's not happening here. That is the same problem affecting our political parties. That is the problem affecting our civil society. And that's the problem affecting the general population as well. So there is indifference. So long as you are able to make a living and you are okay, that's fine. I mean, especially the small arrests that Barrow and his people have started now with the arrest of Mahdi and others. They've started intimidating certain individuals who would even be willing to speak up. So those are all there. And more importantly, also people are indifferent. So long as you are not affected by anything, then that is it. So our civil society has gone into workshop activism. So if they go and they say, no, we are talking to government. So they are all doing workshops. They are all doing, we are doing sensitization. We are this and that and that. So anything they do is just working with the government. So this is the sad reality, I mean, of our state. And the only way to change it is to be actively involved in large numbers in activism. Everybody should be an activist, asking tough questions in relation to how our finances are managed, the conduct of our public officers, and things like that. And if you look at even the figure that we've quoted, the figure that we've quoted, it could be far more than that, because on the Chinese side, the container they recorded is 3,107. So we are talking about over $500 million in revenue messed up. And you know what? I was here with my colleague before the publication, and we showed that the Ministry of Environment went to the Turkish embassy to put up a borehole. These boreholes, these rubber tanks.
Yes.
These rubber tanks that people put in their houses.
Yeah.
So they went to Turkish embassy to put up such rubber tank in the monkey park for the monkeys to be able to drink in a pond. They created a cement pond. Imagine the catastrophic loss of revenue we are talking about here in 3 months. But such a ministry had the indignity to walk to a foreign embassy to put up a rubber tank for them in the monkey park. And aside from that, they also have a building they couldn't even finish. So all those are there. I mean, what corruption is killing this country, and no one is lifting a finger to stop it. But the problem is, to a larger extent, the opposition are not any different from the ruling government. Both in their actions and in their convictions. They are 6 and 9 to a larger extent. That is the bitter truth. I mean, look at the disorganized nature of the opposition. Look at the things that they care about. Look at the things they talk about. We are still at that WhatsApp level politics where policy discussions are relegated to the backwaters, to the back burner, and personality politics on WhatsApp is at the forefront of affairs. So this is what we expect to be happening all over the place. I mean, otherwise, aside from Dr. 𝐶𝐸, for example, I mean, to his credit, in the early days, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, in the early days before he switched allegiance to Barrow, I mean, he was the only one who was talking about our stories.
Yes.
The corruption allegations that were coming out, as far as I know, the only one who was talking about corruption allegations, really. I mean, in fact, a number of these opposition parties, the same people who are giving money to the NPP are the same people also giving money to them. I mean, we know some of them are involved in some of these activities. So they're not any different. They are 6 and 9. Now, to a larger extent, I mean, you would be surprised. I mean, the Gambia police also investigated this subject matter. And this is something the Gambian people need to also sit down and talk about. Now, while the police is busy harassing folks like Madi Jobate and others, people who are doing genuine work for their country, based on how they know how, they've done works like this. They're busy killing investigations. I mean, they investigated this subject. When we were verifying these numbers, during this trade, the Department of Parks and Wildlife was taking the numbers because they were issuing the CITES licenses. The Department of Forestry was taking numbers. They had stationed Maudo Jallo, the guy at Salaji Forest there at the park. The NIA was taking numbers. They stationed Yusufa Janneh at the park. The custom was taking numbers. In fact, I wrote to the custom and they refused to reply. I wrote to, and a few weeks later, GRA leadership issued a warning letter to say that to authorize no one to speak to media, to warn that anybody who speak with media will have consequences. The Ports Authority was recording numbers. The Ministry of Environment was recording numbers. So basically 6 institutions were recording numbers. And yet none of them seem to have, they pretend to not have numbers. Because they know, I mean, you could see that is why, because there was a deliberate intent to lie, they keep flip-flopping with the numbers, because they both knew what happened. Everybody on the inside knew what happened to the office of the president. But the police investigated it. Guess what? They didn't talk to any of these people from the park, because I spoke to them and I asked them at some point, did you speak to the police? They said no. So the NIA, they didn't speak to them. The forest officer who was at the park, they didn't speak to him. The ministry's data clerk who was recording the container number, they didn't speak to him. So you wonder, where did they get their numbers? I mean, I spoke to somebody at the National Audit Office who told me that they got the information that they gathered the people who are accused of, they investigated this matter. And they gathered people who are persons of interest. And they asked them, did you do it? And they said, no, they didn't do it. So they compiled that report. He said he didn't do it. And that was the investigation report. And so, I mean, this is not the first time Gambia police have done this. I mean, almost every investigation we have done, we trail the police, and this has been the history. Every investigation they are involved in, except if there is political interest. If there is no political interest, they will kill it for financial interest or whatsoever. How they do it, I don't know. But this has been, whether it's in the passport investigation, they did the same thing. Roy Webster, the one we just recently published, the rapist, the alleged rapist. Exactly. And all these investigations, this one particularly also. Yes, every other, I mean, investigation. The Dr. Banja, they didn't have any option. They couldn't squander that because that was already exposed out in the open. Yeah. And even that they messed up because they went, in fact, that is the reason why I had to come and testify in that case. Because the police went and testified, and when he was asked, how did you get this audio? He said he got it from my website. And they told him, because you didn't have the original custody of this audio, you cannot tender it in court. So they had to come to me as the person who originally had the audio to now testify and tender the recording in court. So you see, at the GAM Petroleum case, they squandered it. Yeah, they messed it up. The GAM Petroleum case, you remember? Yeah. Every other case, they messed it up. Yeah. So, and this conversation is not here. Like our folks don't sit down and talk about criminal investigations ongoing, especially in relation to corruption, and how we are losing these cases, and people who are contributing directly to losing these cases. Nobody is held to account because, by a greater degree, most Gambians are corrupt.
Yes.
Yes. And by a greater degree, overwhelming Gambians, those who are not corrupt, condones corruption. And so this is the unfortunate story of this country.
This is unfortunate story affecting all of us, because 99% of Gambians are all poor. We saw the report, how poverty is raging havoc in that country. We all know that. But even with that, we are all keeping quiet. We are all complicit in this, most of us, because corruption is a wildfire in the Gambia, cascading everywhere. We are involved in it. Our families are involved in it. We are creating doubt and supporting a government that is rendered useless because of they are part and parcel of this corruption. Our viewers, we are with Mustapha, Swandi, Darboe, and Ben Suwareh to discuss once again important issues. If we care, these are important things, and we cannot dodge them wherever we are. Mustapha, And this is only 3 months. We are talking of 300 million. And according to your report, these are only square logs, not the processed logs. The processed woods are not there. This is only square. How many containers went? And why the Farato farm? Why is that place significant? Who owns it? How did the timbers, went into Farato farm? We need to have the significance of that Farato farm. Go ahead, Mustapha.
No, the Farato farm is Janneh's farm. It used to be owned by Janneh. And Janneh used to put his cattle there.
Yes.
Used to, yeah. And so, so they sort of put they did that to centralize the export place so that they are able to control all the containers that are leaving, so that it's easy. So that is why they had their officials there. They even issued a regulation which says all export timbers that are to be made were supposed to be loaded. All the containers are supposed to be loaded at Farato farms, and so that was a strategy to control things. Yeah.
Mustapha, may I ask
yes, go ahead.
Is the rosewood not an endangered species?
It is.
Why
endangered.
Is the government allowing the open sale of the wood? No,
in fact, the problem is that by our laws, you are not supposed to. We are not allowed to export rosewood, supposedly on transit. I mean, by that I mean the rosewood that our folks, our law has banned export of rosewood.
Yeah.
So, but because that is in the laws, so they created a gap in the law to call it re-export trade. This was a way to, blindfold Senegal.
Yeah.
To show that no, we are not exporting rosewood per se. We are re-exporting it. So rosewood is being imported from other countries, and then to Gambia, and then we are re-exporting it to China, right?
Yeah.
So but the law, the CITES it says that when you are re-exporting rosewood, that rosewood should be certified with it should come with a certificate of origin, which means that if you are bringing it from Senegalese government should have certified this for export to Gambia, and so that Gambia could legitimately export it to China. So what they do is when they bring illegal rosewood from Senegal, they go to Guinea-Bissau and collect a certificate of origin. It's more like how conflict diamond trafficking was evading restrictions of conflict diamond trafficking. So if they get conflict diamond from Sierra Leone or Liberia, they go to Zimbabwe, get a certificate, or South Africa, and bypass the UN sanction and take it. They were doing the same thing with timber.
Yeah.
And but it's illegal.
But wherever it comes from, it's illegal.
Yes.
It's an endangered species. And
yes.
For government to actively get involved on something that is an environmental crime.
Yeah.
That's severe. I think that should have been the measure enough to close this practice.
Exactly.
No, it is.
Yeah, I remember in the First Republic when the declaration was made to stop the burning of charcoal. I mean, it was very effective. I mean, it had to be really smuggled. I mean, we know smuggling charcoal is more practical than smuggling rosewood. It's not easy. It would have been completely minimized, especially something having to go through our ports could have been completely stopped if the government was interested. But before Ebrima comes in there, even the proceeds that the government realized from this trade, the utilization of those proceeds are made in corruption.
Yes.
Or not been used, let me use the other word for it, not very transparent. Can you help us to explain how would they find themselves allocating 50 million? Senegal allocating 50 million to the victims, and what happened to that 50 million to the victims, and how they decide to use the proceeds again to buy those outdated riot vehicles, or whether you call them water tanks and so on. Can you help us on that side of the report?
Yes. So I mean, in 2017, the Ministry of Justice actually wrote to Senegalese government.
Mm-hmm.
They were seeking some help, basically finding out what Senegal could contribute to our TJ process.
Yeah.
And so the Senegalese ambassador promised the former Justice Minister Boubacar Tambadou that, look, we have gone into an arrangement with Gambia to sell confiscated timber, and when that is sold, we will give you 50 million. So this is 199 million. So 190, they rounded it up. It's basically 200 million. Yeah. So Senegal gets 100, Gambia gets 100. So they, Senegal donated. So they wired 49 million plus to Senegal in December 2019. And so the other 50 million was left behind. But this was never donated to TRRC. We know that TRRC only received 50 million, and clearly on record that 50 million was from the money that was from the 1.3 billion that was initially recovered from the sale of Janneh's assets. Mm-hmm. So clearly this money was then used to buy pickups and vehicles for police and Minister of Environment, Minister of Finance. In fact, Office of the President also got a vehicle, if I can vividly remember. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Brother Ben, what I am also interested in, the government, our government brokered a deal with the smugglers, or the dealers, to sell the seized timber. Mm-hmm. But what informed Senegal, or what convinced Senegal to back this idea? Because these are smugglers, coming from Senegal, destroying the environment, fueling the lifeline of the rebels against them. Why do they want these same dealers that are running these deals? Senegal back those ideas so that the deal can be broker, and the dealers will have some money, and probably being empowered, even though they will not get the whole amount of money, but they will get something out of the deal that is illegal. Go ahead.
This is what my belief is, but Mustapha might be in a better position to tell me.
Yeah.
See, our political system is the same as what is happening in Senegal. Mm-hmm. They have patrons that are sponsoring the government. And in this case, those patrons are the ones facilitating policies or make up policies that will make sure their business thrive. I think as we have in the Gambia here, we have the Lamin Sedikans and the Badmin Sohos. We have the same kind of people within the Senegalese territory that are part of the smuggling rings. Now, if those people are involved, they can easily persuade the Senegalese authorities, the policymakers, because it's political. They are the political backers, for them to look the other way and allow them, things to happen. This is my belief in what have transpired. But before you go back to Mustapha, I want to emphasize something else. And Gambians should check this out. When I heard about the 50 million we be given to Senegal, Ebrima, I can tell you that actually, for my findings, the other 50 million was paid into an account technically transferred to Barrow.
Wow.
Gambians should ask these questions. How did the Gambia government come out with the figure of 50 million to go to the TRRC from Janneh assets? That is to cover the 50 million that was already coming from Senegal. That's the only reason 50 million was given to the city. And because I challenged Ababakar Tambadou the former justice minister. I challenged him, and he threatened illegal actions. And I asked him to live up to the threat. He disappeared, because this is what they did. I like you just imagine that the victims are dying. They need the money and everything. Still now, a 50 million was given to them from Senegal. Why was that money not transferred directly to the TRRC account so that the victims can have it? That's why I said the explanation is here that 50 million was stolen. But if we put the pressure, they will remove that 50 million and give it back to the victims. Now it's for Gambians to stand up to this. And now I made the allegations before, but again, this is important. That's why it's important to rely on what Maligan has said. It's not an allegation. They have did the investigation.
Yes.
And the government, let the government come out and challenge that. They would not, because it's based on facts. Now it's for Gambians to use those information to make sure we realize something on it, from it.
You know, the good thing about timber export is that it's more like whatever you put in the pipe will come out the other end. Gambia, as far as timber export is concerned, Gambia is a rogue state. Yeah. It's a criminal state. Criminal state in the sense that Gambia is not complying even with CITES in terms of supplying records of its export. Yeah. Because Gambia officials are involved and they know what they're involved in is illegal. And to a larger extent, the sad reality is that while we are criminally incriminated into this environmental crime, the people don't get to benefit from the proceeds. And that's what is painful about it. Now, if we are involved in certifying Senegalese timber for export through this country, and we are getting enough revenue from it, I mean, you may welcome it. Mm-hmm. But if we have few business folks and politicians benefiting from illegal trade at the expense of the state, that is sad.
That's sad, yes.
That is sad. You see what I mean? And the tragedy is that, you know, in Switzerland, because, you know, Westwood was here, and Westwood was owned by Dragos and Nicholas and Dragos Bijano. Yes. They are Romanians, but they acquired a Swiss citizenship. Mm-hmm. So Trial International did an investigation into the illegal timber trade, and they had supplied some information with regards to this particular subject to the Swiss authorities to open an inquiry into the illegal timber trade in respect to environmental crime, because, you know, environmental crime is now prosecutable as a war crime. War crime, at that status, as an international crime. So they submitted this with the Swiss authorities, and the last I checked, in fact, the Swiss authorities had made a forced contact with Gambian authorities in respect of this subject. So you would have a Gambia government cooperating with Swiss authorities to investigate an environmental crime in which the state itself as a country is complicit.
Oh my God.
Because Janneh was using the infrastructure of state, yes, to export this illegal timber. Now on the Barrow, they're using the same infrastructure of state to export illegal timber. And who benefits? Not the citizens, not you, not me, the politicians and their financiers. And that is what is tragic about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, Mustapha, we know, according to their report, it might be more than that, about 1,177 containers export that was reported by the Ministry of Environment, and with a total revenue of about 4,237,200. And when we converted that into dollars, the total will be about 199,287,576. You know, was confirmed to be deposited in the government account at the central bank. Do we know what happened to that account or that money in the central bank?
Well, that money has been spent. That's why we were talking about the 50 million being taken to Senegal. Some amount of money also be used to buy vehicle for the police.
Yeah.
And the last I checked, they claim some 45 million is still there. But you know, if Gambia government is telling you we still have some money lying in an account, you should take that with a pinch of salt. But anyway, it is what it is. That's what they said.
Yeah, but
Huh?
okay, go ahead, Mustapha. Go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
no. I mean, it's as far as we are concerned that bit of it is irrelevant to pursue because it has not much to do with crime.
Yeah.
We're more concerned about confirming certain things, which is understatement of revenue, and to confirm that anyway, Gambia government has acquired revenue loss here, and that certain individuals need to be held to account. And I think we've done that.
Brother Ben, lies, corruptions, taking Gambians for granted, but the Gambians are no. Why should you not take them for granted? Because they are lazy, they are corrupt. You know, they finge on notice of what is happening as far as they have food and rice, and they have a little bit of cash here that can take them from A to B. You've been talking about these corruptions. What can we do? What should it take for Gambians to realize that we are all losing here? These governments, wherever we are, no matter our status, no matter our so-called education, they are lying to us because they can easily get away with this. And everybody is affected. Kids are dying. The kids are going to back way. Thousands are dying needlessly. The Ministry of Youth budget is about 122 billion, 395, among the lowest, of all the institutional caterings that, this so-called estimated budget has allocated. And you have 3 months, we have 300 million of our dollars is just go into thin air. We don't even know where it is. Gambia is rich. These things are happening. What should it take for Gambians to awaken themselves up and know we have a very rich country? It's just only the leaderships and the people who support them, that's us, that are squandering that country and rendering it almost in a state of perpetual penury and poverty, that nobody can imagine happening in the Gambia. What can we do, Ben, other than what we are doing? Go ahead.
Look, I will borrow from what Mustapha has said. We should not sit down and wait for a Messiah. We should not sit down and wait for a hero. This is unto every Gambian. But whom Gambians I am going to hold account to most is the so-called influential Gambian, the so-called affluent Gambian, the so-called educated Gambians. You see, in every society, even in animals, they have leadership. And if I'm talking about leadership, I'm not referring to the opposition or the government as per se. As individuals, society itself, at our level, just in our household, we have leadership. And we should take that leadership up until Gambians start to take that leadership. You think the Usman Sonkos and those young elites who are within the systems, I mean, Jomai Fai and others are all directors at the revenue authorities. They could have looked the other way.
Yeah.
But they came out to be counted until Gambians started. You see, Gambians would even be benefiting from the society to give them education and everything. All they want to is to get to even to run to the international, have their appointments, and have the excuse, I am in the condition that I cannot comment on Gambian politics. But even if they're retired and receiving their pensions, not from government, sitting in the country, they will still sit down and see the other way. Because for now, they can manage, or they are depending on doing some consultancy for government or government stakeholders. They don't want to disturb their living. And that goes on to every level. And that's why this thing continues. We are counted, we are doing the bit we can do. But Ebrima, how many Gambians do you see with the expertise in law, expertise in economics, in accounting, other things, that would, put up something, to write something? No, they will not do that. Behind the scenes, they will criticize. But they will not come out to do that. Then if we even blame politicians, we have to blame these so-called intellectuals or so-called influential or so-called educated Gambians. To whom most is given, most is expected. Now, this is where the problem is. And, you know, because of once, that's why the incumbent, we always say, oh, the incumbent have power. In other countries, it's incumbent have responsibility. Because if you don't deliver that, on that, you will, lose the power given to you. But in this case, we allow them to use that power to, in fact, corrupt our democracy. This is the power they're using now to intimidate the likes of Mahdi, to intimidate the likes of other people for trials and so on, and use the same power to corrupt other people and corrupt our democracy by creating patrons that will be giving them money. And that money will be given to induce the voters or corrupt the voting system. Alaji, Ebrima, that brings us back to what? Corruption. Corruption is the root causes of the failure of governance. Corruption is the root causes, is the causing of the suffering of our people, of our youths dying in the back way. It's all because of this corruption. And when we get to the budget, we can see clearly, as you have stated, the budget of the Minister of Youths. Who else is taken care of? We have seen the government sponsoring bills. For what? The judiciary, the high echelon of the judiciary, sponsoring bills for the members of parliament, sponsoring bills for the executive. But we have seen them taking on campaign to say that they are going to clear the streets. They're forgetting those streets are those people they're clearing are not criminals. They are not there to break the law, but they are there to sweat, to earn something, to take and feed their families and keep the economy going. They are part of the microeconomic system. But for the disrespect they have for our citizens, they don't care. Yes, we want our roads to be clear, but we want it to be done responsibly. We want planning. We want strategic development planning. We want people to be consulted, people to be given ownership of their livelihood, but not to be disrespecting our sisters, our mothers, our brothers, and kicking them out like animals when the executive is what they're supposed to do. This is where the problem is. We have to advocate, we have to stand up, we have to contribute. And this is of the all level of leadership, not only the institutions as we know them, but in citizens for that matter, especially citizens that can they have the privilege to do a little bit more.
Yes, thank you, Brother Ben. Citizens need to take responsibility of their country, their case, but unfortunately, that is not happening in the Gambia. Mustapha, Open Gambia argued that, the estimated budget in 2024 is to maintain the opulent lifestyle of political, big wig or big apple, especially the president, but, office of the president gets about 872 billion, 622,000 million, 251 dollars. And we have the civil servants health support or whatever, which was about 40 million last year, 2023, 2024, 60 million. There is no productive investment, there's no capital investment. We are indebted of almost 109 billion, but we have the Ministry of Youth that have about 122 million to 395 to 144 dollars. Office of the First Lady is about 519,958. That's for the permanent secretary, deputy permanent secretaries. We have the former president's bill passed with all that money that we have. Also, we have the president meet the farmers store increased to 30,000. Hospitals, 30 million, instead of 10 million. We have now from $25 for a hospital tickets, now to $100 and all those things. Do you think this is a proper budget, estimated budget that's going to benefit the country? As the Keita said, the Minister of Finance and Economic Fund, the tax revenue is expected to rise by 24% due to improvement in economic performance. 2024 budget is anchored on the reduction of overall fiscal deficit, including all these nonsenses. What do you think are the challenges of this estimated budget? And is it proper? Mustapha, what do you think?
I think the problem we have in this country, we have a lot of impulsive decision makers they make decisions based on impulse, and so they're not thinking, and they're not strategic, they're not rational. Because as far as I'm concerned, the first question we need to ask is, what is a budget? And the second question we need to ask is, where are we and where do we want to be? Like, in other words, what are the challenges confronting the Gambian people today? Probably at the most elementary level, you probably would talk about food security. People are hungry. Half of the population lives below $1 a day. That means half of the population basically cannot afford proper meal, 2 square meal, or probably even one meal a day. Because if you live below $2 a day, that's 63 plus 63. That's like how much? 126 or something like that. No? Yeah, that would be 126, right?
Yes.
That's $126 a day. If you live below that, maybe you are having $100 a day for your family. Half of the population is under that. Okay, so you are having a problem of a society that is food poor. It's not food secure. Now you have a population that is also that has a youth population that is grossly unemployed. So let's focus on these two key issues. You have gross unemployment issues, and you have hunger issues. Now, if you are to budget, let's withdraw from all these big philosophical economics, whatever, and go to the basics. Budget is basically the money we have to invest, right? We are a state, our state is a business. We came together so that we hire an army to protect the country from outside attack, the police to defend the country, to protect people from inside, make sure there is no crime. And we have a government to think of strategies to invest and make sure they alleviate the suffering of the people through many means, to create wealth and make sure people are not hungry, to make sure people have a job. That's it. That's the reason why we have a government. And so the budget is basically the amount of resources we allocate yearly to invest to attain these goals. That is the budget at the most elementary level. And so the question we now ask is, this budget, what does it seek to have? What does it seek to achieve?
Thank you.
How much job would this budget create? How much food secure would Gambia be by the end of next year, after the execution of this budget? These are the strategic questions that the budget should ask. That is why budget cannot be allocated without a proper plan. Now, we need to have a proper national plan to say, if we implement this plan, by the end of this year, Gambia would be food secure. Or this is the amount of tonnage of rice we would have achieved by the time of this year. And this is the amount of money we need to achieve that. So that we know we are not spending money like fools.
Definitely.
Because that's what we've been doing from 1965 to now. We've been investing in maintaining a bunch of elites and their opulent lifestyle and some white elephant nonsense. That's what we've been doing. So that is why, because they have no plan to make this country food secure, they have no plan to cut on jobs. You know, you remember last year they said they were going to create 200,000 jobs.
Yes, yes.
Where is 200,000 jobs?
They don't report it.
Even 15
because
jobs,
because it was a stupid slogan that was not underpinned by any program. You see, so this particular format of budgeting should be abrogated a long time ago.
Yes.
So that there is a proper program-based budget that is not just rhetoric, that we say, okay, we would invest this amount of money in rice cultivation. And this is not like we are relying on donors for this and that and that. And this is how this rice cultivation is going to be done. So that we are not doing the same thing we've been doing from independence to now. If you look at the budget from 1965, aside from the change of figures, nothing changes. It's the same budget lines. Office of the President, this, Ministry of this, that, Ministry of that. This is the same. Go through the Gambian budget. It's the same format. Nothing changes. And nothing changes in our investment format. So every year is rhetoric. But if you are making an investment every year and you are taking loan, you are not even able to recover your investment. I mean, I'm saying you are not even able to recover your capital. That is why the countries go in debt. Because you take money, that money should have been invested properly so that it regenerates wealth. That wealth is able to pay back the debts. But because we are not investing, we keep squandering it and we keep taking it. That's why at some point you get swallowed up.
Yes.
You know, and then they put IMF would come and put you under some program, and they manage you. Probably you rebase the economy. You say, you know, your debt to GDP ratio has gone up significantly. Oh, they said, oh no, maybe you need to recalculate your GDP. It has expanded. So like they did in 2016.
Yeah.
But look at the real debt figures. They never go up. The debt to GDP ratio, if you manipulate the thing and say we have rebased, the GDP has expanded, of course, naturally, the debt to GDP ratio is going to go down, right? But that's the thing. We take it and build a road, make their friends rich and make themselves rich.
Definitely.
That's it. But the key fundamental issues, people remain hungry, people remain jobless, and because those things, they don't even have a plan on addressing those, you know. And that's one issue. The other issue is that in terms of even revenue generation, you've talked about the issue of tax that they claim is going to go up, right?
Yeah.
Now, tax is a delicate matter because when you increase tax and levy it on businesses and, let's say, key government institutions, it's going to take money from the pockets of the individuals. Barrow was talking about hospitals. Now, I'm sure Barrow is not living in America; he's living in the Gambia, so that means he knows there are no medicines at the hospital.
There's no medicine.
So when people go to the hospital, they ultimately get a prescription and go to the private pharmacies and buy. He knows that. He's not living in America. He's living in Banjul and Mankamankunda. Now, so people would take that and go and buy. So, and tax would be levied on other issues that are also going to be utilized, services that the people need. Now, that means you are taking money from the pockets of individuals who are already food poor at the most elementary level. Now, you're making them suffer more. And because also the buying power of the people will be weakened, it means the markets also will be weakened because people need to go to the market with their money to stimulate the economy. People need to buy for businesses to grow.
Yeah.
So people will suffer. And because people suffer, people will not also buy. Businesses also will suffer. Now, what would that do? When businesses receive less sales, it's going to affect their earnings. It's going to ultimately affect their profit, and they're still going to pay tax. And it's still going to also affect tax in return.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you overtax, you kill the, how do they call it? The golden egg that lays the golden egg. The golden goose that lays the golden egg, right? You see what I mean?
Exactly.
Now, what they need, and they know it, but they will not do that because they are the people responsible for the mess. Is they are overboarding the ordinary people with their inefficiency, with their incompetence, and with their corruption. So now it's the people who have to finance that. Yeah? How are they doing that? I'll give you a few contracts Gambia government has signed in the recent times.
Yes.
Why are they stopping their tax exemptions and the stupid custom excise tax exemptions they give to construction companies?
Yes.
A mere construction. If a construction company takes a government contract, why would that construction company not pay tax?
Exactly.
Banjul project, there was a tax exemption for Hadim. Semlex contract has a tax exemption.
Tax exemption, yeah, yeah.
Security report contract has a tax exemption. All these recent contracts they signed, they put tax exemptions there. Why? Somebody just signed a contract to go and make some ID card. Why is he giving a tax exemption and custom exemption? If he is bringing a needle in the country, and he is bringing that needle irrespective of that contract, he is not paying custom duties on it. Why? That's one issue, and they know it, and that's costing Gambia government billions, or at least millions, probably more than $1 billion. Now, or close to $1 billion, if it is not billions, but probably close to $1 billion, because we're talking about millions. Yeah. Now, you have certain services that even government can do. Yeah. Gambia immigration can do ID cards. They can. If you give them resources, you buy them equipment, they can. Gambia immigration can issue ID cards.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, Gambia immigration. In fact, it is them who are issuing ID cards because it's their staff who are working there. It is Gambia immigration can issue passports. They can. You have to find out why they go into these private contracts. You know, they can issue. Gambia immigration are doing what security report is doing at the airport, at the land borders. Go to the land borders. If you are going to Senegal, it is Gambia immigration that is doing implementing the migration information data analysis system.
Yeah,
exactly.
That the Japan government has bought for them. It is squarely the Gambia immigration. That is same thing that the security report is doing at the airport. And that thing they are implementing at the border in Senegal, between us and Senegalese border, it is also connected to the Interpol's I-24/7, which is the Interpol crime database.
Exactly.
So why are they not empowering immigration to take all these revenue streams in control? Those are questions we need to go and ask. That's one. Now, two, there is an overburden of Gambia government's over-reliance on vehicles. They are buying vehicles, using them, and go and dump them at the garage in Kotu. Because government is the one buying. So they came, in 2017, they had this discussion to come up with a so-called vehicle policy. And they said, okay, look, we have to shift the burden of vehicle ownership to officials. So say, for example, Mustapha Darboe is an employee of Gambia government. He can take ownership of his vehicle. We can give him a vehicle loan, a loan, and he will pay over time. When he is done, vehicle becomes his. And it's no longer in our control. Now that reduces the burden of government ownership of vehicles. What do? They throw it out. And this was supposed to save them 300 million. Right?
Yeah.
Travel. We are here. Gambia government does suspend travels for a period. That means majority of travels are unnecessary. If you can stop something, if you can stop something, it means you don't need that. But the only reason why they do travel is because travel is an avenue to reap the people. You see, they are not stopping this because this goes to finance their lifestyles. Now, this is part of the issues. So they are not plugging the holes. So they are not interested in suffering. And because they are in control, they are shifting the burden on the people. and not on themselves.
Yeah.
Because the budget goes to maintenance the state and the lifestyle of public officers. That's what we've been having from independence to now. And that's why the whole affair need to be rethought again. We need to rethink this budget process. What is a budget? What investment plan do we have? And we need to rigorously confront these policies. If you are saying NAWEC would be by, you remember NAWEC would be this efficient by this time.
Mm-hmm.
We need to tangibly be able to measure that.
Yes.
But these people tell us NAWEC has enough capacity in the Gambia. What they don't have right now, they are waiting for the distribution, transmission issues. But this is grossly untrue now.
Yeah.
We now know this to be a lie.
Mm-hmm.
They tell us also about GRA. GRA is collecting 12 billion. We now know this. Barrow said the tax revenue is $5 billion. Is that?
Mm-hmm.
We know also substantial amount of what GRA reports as tax is the one is government's pay as you earn, the deduction from people's salaries.
Yeah.
And the withholding tax and all those. GRA should not be reporting those. They should strip GRA of those taxes, of those revenues. That is not GRA's revenue. That's GRA's revenue should be confined to the tax they go and collect so that we know how GRA performs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if they do that, GRA will be dressed naked. You will know how callous these people are. I mean, in a number of situations, and we don't know, I know this because we look into businesses a lot. Each time we are investigating any business, we look into their tax records, we look into their business registration and things like that. And I can tell you, significant number of businesses in this country are doing what is called, GRA is doing what they call administrative assessment. So they come to your business and say, look, you need to pay, based on what we have seen, you need to pay 5,000 because they have not filed their audited accounts. If you have not filed, GRA either tax you on your profit or your turnover. But if you do not file your audited accounts, GRA just does administrative assessment. So they just sit down in their office or look at your business and say, you need to pay 2,000. Sometimes they charge you and you give them kickbacks.
Yeah.
So the GRA is losing incredible number of revenue. And as far as we know, and if this is not true, they should clarify. As far as we know, this is how Majum has been paying its tax, as far as we know. Because I haven't had this written record, but the officials I've spoken to before the presidential election, because I look into Majum's tax records. You can go to our website. You look at what presidential candidates pay in tax. The president's business, Majum's tax is being paid on administrative assessment basis. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you have not submitted your audited account, GRA has no capacity to efficiently tax your business. That's one issue. A lot of revenue leakages are happening in that area. The second issue is we have a lot of businesses in the Gambia that either don't have the capacity to do audited accounts. I will give you an example. So you go to a corner shop and you assume that because a corner shop is very small, it cannot have, let's say, a corner shop may be making 200,000 profit a year.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you encourage corner shops to go and make audited accounts, the accountants in the country small accountants who are graduating from AAT level 1, level 2, they can make account statements. Who are graduating from GTTI, MDI, and all the institutions, they can make. So businesses, even corner shops, can hire these boys, pay them, let's say 1,000, 2,000 an hour or something, give them some rate or whatever, based on their arrangement. They make them an account statement. And GRA can use these account statements to now assess these people and get them to pay tax so that revenue leakages will be minimized. And I'll give you another example. If you go to the business registry at the Ministry of Justice, it is not directly connected to GRA's tax system. So businesses do exist at the Ministry of Justice. GRA is not aware of. I know this because I do company record search all the time. And each time I do, I will say, I want to know, I want to have access to their return because I want to know how much profit they make a year earlier and things like that, you know. So they know what is wrong in this country, but the problem is we haven't even begun to assess our problem responsibly and in a way that we want to change them. So we keep the same thing, lazy behavior that's been bequeathed to us by colonialists who had no interest in fixing this country. So that we have a government that we collect money each year only to go and maintain the government and its bureaucratic folks and their lifestyles.
Thank you.
And the second thing is,
go ahead, Mustapha. Go ahead.
Instead of going into revenue generating business like productive sector, things, they go only into construction, right?
Yeah.
Think about it. All they can do is build a road. Janneh did the same thing to us, but what did that do? I'm not against building roads. It's good. It's good to build roads. But we must not also equate productive economic investment to building roads, because you can build a road that does not necessarily improve economic productivity in the country in a larger scale, because there are different roads and different roads have different economic benefits. If you build a road linking two villages together where probably it would be plied by probably donkey carts, you may do well in, vehicles will ply fast and they will get to the hospital quick. But that is not the same as building a road linking, let's say, for example, one very productive area to another very productive area. But that aside, I'm not against building roads. But that aside, think about from independence to now, we spent over $50 million on importing rice. And a serious government investment in 1 year can end rice importation in the Gambia. 1 year. I'm telling you, 1 year.
No, yes, I agree.
The amount of money that is squandered in this country alone, 1 year, can end rice importation in the Gambia. 1 year. Now, I may not bore you with my sentiments because I'm a socialist and a lot of people see things differently from how I see things. I think government should invest directly in rice production, and if you ask me, I can defend it because I know Gambian business folks. I know how lazy most of them are. I know how corrupt most of them are. In fact, right now they all have construction companies. They all have procurement companies. That's all they do. I know, and we are waiting for a private sector to invest in rice production, a private sector that will never be ready to do that, because that requires thinking and proper investment and hard work. And this private sector we have here is not ready for that. Chronic capitalists, they hide behind the curtain and wait for government to say we need to procure vehicles. They come and bribe and get a vehicle contract and go and procure vehicles for government. They hide behind the curtain. Gambia government say we are building offices. They go and hire a construction company. And that is how they've been behaving. And that will never change. I can tell you that. We can daydream about it if we want. Now, the other issue is, let me give you one classical example.
Go ahead, Mustapha. Go ahead.
In 2020, when the COVID was happening in the Gambia, Gambia government said they were going to buy rice for people to alleviate a suffering for just 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Because imagine a bag of rice in the Gambia for an average family would take probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks at most. They mobilized, government that says it does not have money, they mobilized $850 million. $850 million. What did they do with it? Squander it. They all, when they knew this was being mobilized, they all went and searched for and bring their friends. So they come up with a strategy.
Wallahi,
They come up with a strategy, and they said, our business, we are going to give this to small scale businesses. And they go and talk to their friends to now come and gather themselves as small scale businesses. So they gave them this contract to go and supply rice. But we know what happened to that. The national disaster matter, the parliament is saying this amount of money should be recovered.
Yeah.
The national 850 million. Suppose they did not do that. Suppose they didn't do that. I'm not insensitive. Yeah. But I would not keep you. I would rather keep you staff for 1 month and then come and give you food for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Than alleviate your hunger for 2 weeks, then come and keep you staff for 10 years. That's what any normal person with sense would do. Now, here is the thing. If you take 850 million, put people who are in rice cultivation right now, there is one Balo and there is one Darboe. These two people, put them together and their finances and give them a share in a government institution and say, look, we are state, we have advisors at our disposal because we have NARI, we have all the institutions, we have agricultural extension workers, we can avail you any technical support you need. We want an advised, and we are going to go into a partnership on share basis. And depending on your contribution to this project, and we are going to go into rice cultivation. I'm not saying $1 billion is enough, but it goes a long way. Yeah. And in less than 1 year, or at least 1 year, if you invest at least $2 billion in rice cultivation and encourage, this is not, because this idea that we have to support farmers is not going to work. It's been happening here since independence to now. Agriculture has to be commercial for it to work.
Yeah.
If you give my father or my brother who is in the village support, regardless of how much support you give him, unless he is into commercialized farming, and he has substantial amount of resources, he cannot grow rice to feed himself, let alone feed the neighbor. For us to be able to feed the country enough rice, it needs to be in a commercial large-scale form that is not just owned by any individual, but individual with resources.
Yeah.
And that resources only the state has in this country. Or at least if anybody has, they are not interested in investing in that. So why is government waiting for individuals who are not coming? But if you tell them this, they tell you state does not do business. Now, what does states do? Stealing.
Corruption.
State steals.
State does corruption in the Gambia.
Exactly. That is what state does.
But state cannot do business. We have 𝐁𝐮𝐿. Thank you, Alaji Samate, Manferen Lion, and Fatoumata Jabi. Thank you so much for your comments. I'm just taken, really absorbed by Mustapha's, source of the drinking in the fountains of his knowledge and educating us a lot. Let's have discussions, so that we can understand and be truthful to ourselves that, this is not against one side or one individual. We are all thinking as a government, as a country, wherever you are, no matter how you think you are comfy in your Americas, in your Europes, and wherever you are, you think you are safe. You are not safe in that small country of ours that can be a paradise, that we are all contributing to sink into the bottomless of the sea. We are all going to be very, very happy if I stay in Gunjur in my farm and enjoy.
But we cannot even be against our own country.
Yes.
So the idea of me being against the country is ridiculous. I cannot be against my country.
No.
I can be against Barrow, and in which case that is not against my country, because I own equal stake in this country, like Barrow, like anybody in government, like any other individual. And so this is the kind of confusions they create. So that they come in the form of ethnicity or in the form of region, or in the form of religion, or in the form of clan, or in the form of groups, and create sentiments that overpower our intellect. But these things are not, they're not applicable. Like,
I agree with you, brother Ben. We have about foreign service, in the economy. You have 1,797,495,477. For 27 missions, including Niger and all the insignificant countries. We are hungry as a country in the Gambia. Agricultural Ministry get 844,808,675, where our interest lies. We have a setting of a fixed payment of a 1,553,000 for deputy presidential advisors, and 2,483,540 for presidential special advisors. Those are different from presidential advisors. What are the challenges of this 2024 estimated budget? According to you on Open Gambia, you say, do they reduce it? Does it reduce its financial deficit by borrowing more? You question mark. Did they reliance on overtaxing, overspending on the public sector? Is normalized now in the country? Failing to plug leakages that Mustapha was talking, which include to promote corruption? Question marks. Overspending on their election political projects? Question mark. Budget that advances austerity on public spending? Question mark. Does it do that? Investing in the productive sector? Does it invest in the productive sector? Does it create jobs that support economic growth? Question mark. Does it minimize inflation? Does it narrowing the imbalance of trade deficit? Does it do that? Ben, you answer those questions. Does it do that? And what are the challenges, like consumer prices? You ask, cost of living, price increases, potential impact on individuals and corporate finance. What will this boomerang on our economy? This so-called estimated budget. Go ahead, brother Ben.
Thank you, Alain. It doesn't take an economist to understand some of these things. You see, it's not that they don't know what to do. This is what they choose to do, because for them, it's about their interests. It's not about for the national interest. And as Mustapha have said, budgets are about income and expenditure. How to manage this. For what? To impact on the life of people. To safeguard that country. To advance that country. That's what budget meant for. Then, if you are to draw a budget, you should question what do you want to impact on. But the minister have said that to control deficit. How do you control deficit when you don't grow that economy? Because there's nothing in that budget that grows the economy. In fact, we should be very careful. We might just send this economy into depression. Because more taxation, what does it do? You tax in more, and when you don't have a basis of tax, in fact, you're not taxing the right people. The president is making a case of taxing people who are going to the hospitals. But the same budget is telling you that they are increasing the amount of money for the elites to go and treat themselves.
Yes.
Abroad. Gambians should listen to that. You are making it, you need to tax the poor people to go to hospitals where they're not even going to get what they're going for. Even some of the tests, they have to go outside and pay for them.
Yeah, they allocate $60 million for that. 60 million. It was 40 million last year. This year, 60 million for elite to go and have medication outside. So that means they don't care about the hospitals.
If my kids are not going to the public school, if my wife is not attending the public health care and other things, would I care about it? It's not impacting on me. Then I am designing a budget that does not impact me. But I am driving a budget in a way to benefit me. The other point is, as Mustapha said, you are taxing the people, the poor people, who are earning less than $2 a day. But the corporate institutions that are in fact benefiting from giving them business, you are exempting them from paying tax. As he said, Hadim Gai for the Banyan project. The airport, security port. This thing. What value does these people, add to the economy? What value?
Nothing.
They don't transfer knowledge. They don't invest in infrastructure. They don't do nothing. It's a software system. They are something that we don't even need. Before you think of the tax you're going to introduce, why not think of the efficiency savings you can do? And this is what Mustapha was pointing at. If the immigration, we can invest in the immigration department. We have young Gambians within the immigration department. Most of people are now attending universities, colleges. They are capable of transforming the immigration, not from what we used to know, but for the future. They can use softwares. They can do all these things. Why can't we empower them to take these jobs rather than to be outsourcing this and giving billions to people who are taking this money out of the country? They're taking our money out of our economy. They're draining our economy. Yeah. Now, you are not taxing these people, and so many big businesses. Just as he pointed, the president's business himself is not been taxed properly because it's not based on auditors' reports. Now, you think a tax officer can walk to the office of the business of the president and decided to do the right thing? But what about other big companies? This is where we encourage corruption. If we have a set system that we go by, we can measure it to say that it's based on the audit reports of this company, then you minimize the corruption. You see, now, you have not done that, but you are killing off people who are trying to feed themselves. You have not created, you have not invested in a productive this thing as agriculture. The example he gives in agriculture, we can go on to that. If I look at it now, that Mr. Darboe he's talking about in the Gambian engineer who went back from the Gambia.
Yeah.
Growing the rice. And I can tell you that there are so many, I can name out 4 or 5 Gambians who have returned to the Gambia and invested in agriculture. Okay, there's someone called Lamin Jata, Laba. Now, people like
Laba is my uncle. He's in Gunjur also. Yes.
Laba have invested in agriculture. Laba have taken up, local women to work this thing. People like Laba can be empowered. People like that, Mr. Darboe in the rice field can be empowered. I saw that Mr. Batilo, whatever, Sahel production going into rice. Yeah, the treasure warrior movement can be empowered.
Definitely.
All these people can be empowered. All that, to invest, but they are not investing in this.
No, these people are not interested in that.
They are not interested in that.
No,
now,
they are not. They are not interested in those.
Yeah. Now you are talking about to minimize deficit, but you are increasing your expenditure. If you are not earning that much, you are not trying to produce. That's why I say the trade deficit. Because if you invest in agriculture alone, it can, the impact that will have. If we start importing, now we are importing almost everything from outside the Gambia. That's why that's why the CFA is beating us. Poultry. We could invest in poultry to not depend in American chicken. How can we import chicken from America?
Oh, hold on. Oh, wow.
And do you know the American Chamber of Commerce? You know they're advertising in Gambia, promoting American chicken?
Wow.
Yes. Why can poultry? Why can't we have sufficient? Animal husbandry, why can't we have sufficient? If we manage to do that in food, we are even going to save on our healthcare bill, because most people are sick because of they're hungry. Most children are not developing mentally because they are stunted.
Yeah, malnutrition. Yeah.
That's why I said, if we have even achieved one, and in any economy or development, they'll tell you what? The basics. Produce, manufacture, export. That the deficit would have gone down, the foreign exchange, mechanisms, everything would have been regulated. They are not interested in that because the businesses, big businesses, are their patrons as well. Everything they do is for themselves. Now, you are increasing the wage bill for government when there's no productivity in that. You are introducing what? New coordinators for municipal this thing. Since when did the First Lady office become an arm of government? Why should we have a budget? Why should we have a permanent secretary for First Lady's office? Is she elected? Yeah, you see, why do we have all these presidents and advisors? What value does it have? Let NPP pay for them. That's what that work they're doing.
They do Sanos.
If you look at all those efficiency savings, we would have so much funds to put into wherever you put a dollar, at least $10 will come out of it.
Yeah.
That is how you grow your economy. And if you grow that economy, tax would be paid.
Exactly. That's my point. That's my point.
Yeah. So that's the tax base. The tax base is not included.
Yeah. State must be managed like a business. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And when we talk about the productive sector, this government, as I said, until they take the diaspora seriously,
yes,
there should be a diaspora initiative. There is no productive sector more than the diaspora today. There's so much that could have been done to enhance the diaspora capitals, but you don't see that in our budget. What approach is done to do these things? Because in agriculture, diasporans can play a role in investment.
Definitely.
In many sectors, diasporans can play a role, but you don't see that done. Now, let's look at this. Let me give this example. Just as Mustapha said it, they are using the same template from the First Republic.
Yeah, you mentioned that Open Gambia, like he's following the Mambura's footstep.
No,
Yes.
In fact, the First Republic was a little bit better because there come a time they had to intervene, and that's what brought us the Jahali Pajar. There was a time they had to intervene, that what brought us the NTC. That brought us the Agriculture Development Bank. That brought us the Gambia Commercial Development Bank. You see, they have intervened in many sectors. Yes, because of the core corruption again. That's brought us the incompetency, giving people who are not capable to run these institutions and financial corruption and run these institutions to the ground. But from there on, if you look at even another ground of government, it's the same exact ministries we have. Until recently, we have Minister of Higher Education, Lower Education. There's nothing thought of properly. In fact, in designing higher and lower education, they just saw it done somewhere else. They imported it. Until recently, they started Minister of Communication, the Minister of Mass, Digital Media. It's all confusion. Until recently, they started Chief of Staff, Secretary General, confusion. But nothing is thought critically to address. And I'll bring you one point. And Gambians would think about this. What is more important today? And investing in the youths.
Yes, definitely.
Do we not see when the government look at it? Don't we not see what is happening? In the back way. But we have a minister talking about educational policies and other things. But it's not about the immediate intervention that government could do to stem this. Since the First Republic, we have this thing called Minister of Youth and Sports. You see, until we change that mindset, thinking that youth productivity is about sports. And even when we talk about sports, they refer to football. Because that's what sport is for Gambia government. Why should we put those things together? Are the youths not important to have a minister to stand alone?
Definitely.
I would have suggested the government to have the Minister of Youth, entrepreneurship, skills development, entrepreneurship, and voluntary. Because we have to develop people who will be volunteering in the services, but we have to we have to develop our backbone of that economy. That should be based on entrepreneurship. And we have to build skills in order to create, I mean, the skills we need for development. Now, if we have a ministry stand alone, the commitment would be proven by the investment of how much money was going to go in there. The skills should be taken out of higher education. Higher education should concentrate on universities.
Yes. Yes.
And if you put that under the Ministry of Health, every Gambian child that left school should have a space, I mean, in a college where they would learn where their potentials are, be entrepreneurs or be skills development. And in that course of it, the Minister of Youth should be in charge, working with the NGOs and so on, the Scouts, Girl Guides, and every other thing. This Red Cross to work with them, support them, to instill the sense of volunteering for society.
Volunteering is important. It's excessively
important. If we have to invest in that, that would have been realistic that we are addressing. Then it would have reflected in that budget. Sports should be left to professionals. Sports would be left with the Sports Council.
An independent body taking care of it. Yeah.
Exactly. Let them develop sports, be whatever sport it is, let them be in charge, let government give subvention, let those people find ways and to create wealth. That wealth that be plowed back into sports, but not government appointees, not government political appointees. In the United Kingdom, you don't hear the government talking about
sports. The FA is completely independent, yes.
In America, you don't hear the government talk about sports.
No.
There are institutions responsible for that. But the youths have to be taken care of. That's why I said they are not thinking ahead. I want to challenge something President Barrow said. Comparing Gambia, and some Gambians supporting NPP are doing it, or saying that in Sweden, they're paying for medical. In somewhere else, they pay for medical. Alaji, Ebrima, to share this, there's something called the feminine and masculine policies.
Yes.
If you look at Scandinavia compared to United Kingdom, there are more of a feminine.
They are feminine economy. Yes.
Even if you are a government is to introduce a policy where people have to pay to access healthcare, there will be part of that policy. There will be a caveat to make sure that it's mean tested. People who cannot afford to pay will be taken care of, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Wouldn't it? And they will make sure that people who are meant to pay can afford to pay.
And they will have the avenue to pay. Employment is there. Yes, go on.
And they will make sure, they have a value for what they pay for.
Yes.
You see, these things are very important. Now, if you compare to come to United Kingdom compared to America, where people pay for healthcare, you see the national healthcare. People are paying for the healthcare system here.
Yes, they are.
People who can afford to pay are paying. People who can't afford to pay are the one not paying.
And then you contribute through your national insurance also. Your national insurance, you contribute small bit of it. Sometimes you don't use it for years and years.
But the healthcare system already. It's false to say that. In fact, the $25 that's what we're paying for. That's a lie. People are paying their taxes, and those taxes should be spent.
And when you go to hospital, brother, then there's nothing there to even pay, even if you have money. There's nothing there.
But I want to point out something. If you listen to the way President Barrow is making this ask, it's not a big deal. Because you see, he's not affected. They don't have empathy. When they take decisions, they don't care about the people. That's why when you come to politics, people should wise up. We are going to increase it. Increase it from 25 to 100. How many percent? How many percent is that?
About 300%.
300%.
Yeah.
How can you justify 300% increase? And that's only the healthcare. And every other thing would have to increase. And how the Gambians are going to afford that? And so far people are suffering. How many GoFundMe do you see trying to get some people to be treated?
I know, definitely.
On diseases that could have been accessed to this. How many people can afford to go to Dakar, Turkey, India? This is what is happening now, because that's why the government had a budget for themselves, but not for the people. If we come to roads, as Mustapha said, there's something we call strategic development plan. You build things according to priorities. Why do you prioritize things? So that it's sustainable. If I realize that if I build this road between Bakau and Serekunda, for example, I can measure this to say that within the year, the impact of this road would generate this much
income. Yeah,
government will have more money, then I can afford to build that road from another point A and point B. Now, before I put the other road, I have to put this one first, because this one has a direct impact. Before I build the other road from here there, what are the activities there? Obama, we have seen many roads in the rural communities.
Yeah.
And if you say it, people think that, oh, you are insensitive, or do we just have to have road in capital? I'm not saying that. But I'm saying exactly what Mustapha is saying. We have to look at the activities involved in those communities. What should be the priority for that community? Should I invest in the agricultural activities of that community? And if you do the studies, it tells you everything that you need to know.
Yeah.
That you can, yes, I rather, because how much activity would be happening on these roads? Instead, if I put that money into agriculture, I will still able to, produce this much, give people a better standard of living, and have profit, and in the future to build the road. But you know what they did?
Mm-hmm.
They went and took domestic and international loans that we have to pay with profit, interest.
A lot of profit.
And boarding the country with these things. That's why our debt ceiling is going up.
It's excessively going up.
Roads,
Brother Ben, we are almost reaching 2 hours now. I think Mustapha, is need to go now. I think so, so because we've been here for a long time.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely. So, I'm off today, and I know you are off, but in the Gambia, it's getting increasingly.
It's getting late. It's almost 8 here.
It's 8 o'clock now. So definitely, I think we need to stop it here, so that we will bring Mustapha again, when we are free, the same time probably, so that we can discuss, we can enlarge our discussion. And yeah, Mustapha, definitely, it is our pleasure to have you, and we learn always, from you and your candidly, and your love for that country, and the job you're doing, and that's not appreciated, because Gambians are not even reading these things. If they are reading, they are not really, reacting to what is happening to our country, to ourselves, to our families, no matter wherever you are. And Brother Ben, how can I thank you? The energy that you have, he works like anybody else, more than many people here. But anytime, whether this platform to any other platform, he's ready to come. It's just last night that, he reached out to me, and we are here today discussing this very, very important thing. Please, Gambians, our indifference is killing that country. Our selfishness and our lack of empathy for ourselves and for our family is in another level. To the extent that we are talking about endless, useless things when this country is sinking. And perpetrated by nobody else. Yes, we have, we have at the periphery, we have individuals that are doing small things here and there, but it is our governments that are destroying this country. It is our government. Look at them within 7 years, within 5 years, within 6 years. They are super rich. They are multi 200 over 200% richer than they were 5 years ago. They have families that are excessively rich and think they have the omnipotent and the omniscient power, that they can pick and choose, and devour us, to their satisfaction. Look at our giant, our history, our hero, Mahdi Jobati, what is he's going through. Anybody who is affected in the Gambia, Mahdi will be there to fight for that individual. The country is silent on Mahdi's issues. I feel ashamed, when I think about Mahdi and the predicament he is, and the silence, the deafening silence that is happening in that country concerning Mahdi. This is the typical Gambian attitude. That's why useless governments that are here to make us even poorer and sicker, and our people are dying needlessly, can come and fly and sit over our heads. No matter how educated we are, no matter how traveled we are, no matter how aware so-called we are, we accept these things to happen in this country. So we are our own enemies. We have to take that. My heart bleeding, and my heart is with Madi Jobati and those who are wrongly being affected by this government's impunity and the silence of the Gambian populace. Thank you all, our viewers. Thank you, our guests. Thank you, Gunjur Online, my uncle Abubakar, for taking care of the technical issues of producing, and our boss Lamin Jame, wherever you are. And thank you so much, everybody. Please, let the dialogue and let the communication continues. And one day, probably one day, we will free ourselves. God will not come, no angel will come, no amount of prayers will save us from our own indifference and our corruption to save that country. Once again, have a very, very good night. And I will see you anytime we have chance. Gunjur Online is here to serve the public voluntarily. Thank you all. Thank you.